Good morning, daylight burners. How we feeling? How the hell are you? It's doing pretty good over here. A little cool this morning, but it is warming up fast. Mucho rapido. So, we're getting ready to ride out. I'm gonna be riding Lori Darling today. Put a few miles on her just to keep her honest. Give old Karma a break. She's been doing very well. So, said you don't want to ride them into the ground, but I want to keep them honest, and she's done really well for me here the last couple days, so she deserves a good rest. And yeah, a few announcements. I made a decision on the podcast last night, mostly out of just anger and frustration at technology, but it was kind of one of those flip the table deals and say, fuck all of this, I ain't doing it anymore. So you will be getting a podcast at your normal schedule, but it's going to be audio only. It's just not worth the time and effort to do the video at the moment. I was doing a little test run, and there wasn't much traffic on the video side, and so if you guys liked it, I apologize, but it's not worth the time and effort for me at the moment. Once we get rolling, we get some new equipment, a little faster setup, I might do some more, but for right now, the only video I'm going to have on YouTube is just kind of some random clips I take, whether it be a necropsy or abscess or a couple rope shots or whatever, but cult training videos, just kind of some random stuff, and of course the interview style. If I have a guest on and we decide to do video, I'm going to try to do that with every one of them, but some people just don't want to be on video, and that's cool. So if they agree to video, we'll put that up. But other than that, it's just going to be audio only. So I will upload 2 different podcasts every day. Every day that I upload, there's going to be one with a song on it, and then there's going to be the YouTube only version. And I'll try to make sure and label those so you can see. But if you like the music, you listen to the full version. If not, I'll get in trouble with YouTube if I put the song on there unless I've got exclusive copyright permission or written permission, whatever. And I'm not going to do that at the moment. So, yeah, still be 2 different versions, but one of them will be with the song of the day on there. So, those are my announcements. I'm going to try to listen to the Democratic debate a little bit today. I didn't watch it last night, so I'm sure I didn't miss much. I did see a couple clips where Bernie got a little fired up talking about universal health care and Medicare for all, but I imagine it was just as big of a shit show as the last time, so I'll try to breeze through it, and if it's worth it, I'll give a recap. But other than that, we'll just see how the day goes and what we're going to talk about. But we're getting ready to ride out, and I'm on Lori Darling this morning. And anyhow, we'll see what comes to mind, and we'll check back in with you here in a little bit. Good morning, daylight burners. How we feeling? How the hell are you? It's doing pretty good over here. A little cool this morning, but it is warming up fast. Mucho rapido. So, we're getting ready to ride out. I'm going to be riding Lori Darling today. Put a few miles on her just to keep her honest. Give old Karma a break. She's been doing very well. So, said you don't want to ride them into the ground, but I want to keep them honest, and she's done really well for me here the last couple days, so she deserves a good rest. And yeah, a few announcements. I made a decision on the podcast last night, mostly out of just anger and frustration at technology, but it was kind of one of those flip the table deals and say, fuck all of this, I ain't doing it anymore. So you will be getting a podcast at your normal schedule, but it's going to be audio only. It's just not worth the time and effort to do the video at the moment. I was doing a little test run, and there wasn't much traffic on the video side, and so if you guys liked it, I apologize, but it's not worth the the time and effort for me at the moment. Once we get rolling, we get some new equipment, a little faster setup, I might do some more, but for right now, the only video I'm going to have on YouTube is just kind of some random clips I take, whether, you know, be a necropsy or abscess or a couple rope shots or whatever, but cult training videos, just kind of some random stuff, and of course the interview style. If I have a guest on and we decide to do video, I'm going to try to do that with every one of them, but some people just don't want to be on video, and that's cool. So so if they agree to video, we'll put that up, but other than that, it's just going to be audio only. So I will upload 2 different podcasts every day that I upload. There's going to be one with a song on it, and then there's going to be the YouTube only version, and I'll try to make sure and label those so you can see. But if you like the music, you listen to the full version. If not, you know, I'll get in trouble with YouTube if I put the song on there unless I've got exclusive copyright permission or written permission, whatever, and I'm not going to do that at the moment. So yeah, there'll still be 2 different versions, but one of them will be with the song of the day on there. So those are my announcements. I'm going to try to listen to the Democratic debate a little bit today. I didn't watch it last night, so I'm sure I didn't miss much. I did see a couple clips where Bernie got a little fired up talking about universal health care and Medicare for all, but I imagine it was just as big of a shit show as the last time, so I'll try to breeze through it, and if it's worth it, I'll give a recap. But other than that, we'll just see how the day goes and what we're going to talk about. But we're getting ready to ride out, and I'm on Lori Darlin this morning. And anyhow, we'll see what comes to mind, and we'll check back in with you here in a little bit. Ugh, gross. I just downloaded the CNN app so I could watch this debate, air quotes. This goes to show you how much I like you guys. I appreciate you listening, because nobody in their right mind would willingly download CNN bullshit at this point in their lives. But I'm doing it for you, so you're welcome. Consider yourselves lucky. So hopefully it works. I'm having a hard time finding the full debate. I wish they'd just put it on a podcast. That'd be the easiest way to do it. I don't really need to see anybody, but I guess that's where all the good memes come from. But anyhow, well, hopefully this works, and I'll let you know how it goes. Get you updated. See if you missed anything worthwhile or not. Probably not. But you're welcome, burners. I was not able to find a full version of the debate to watch, so I watched some of the highlights, and I listened to a recap from a libertarian podcast I listened to. It's called The Lines of Liberty. You should go check them out. They're pretty good. But anyhow, I listened to them, and I watched a few highlight reels, and it was a little more of an interesting debate this time, as far as just from a pure entertainment standpoint. And it was kind of the hardcore left-wing socialists like Bernie and old Lizzie Paleface, and some of the more moderates like John Hickenlooper and John Delaney. That guy, he needs to be the candidate. He's not the candidate we deserve, but he's the candidate that we all want. John Delaney has the most hilarious facial expressions of all time, and he's a fucking goober. And then Tim Ryan looked like he had a pretty good moment. It didn't work well in his favor, but he'll be remembered for it, or at least I will, anyways. But that was the big kind of takeaway. It was the moderates were trying to, and they're really not all that moderate, when you compare them to normal, average, everyday Joes here in the U.S. But for the Democratic Party nowadays, they're pretty moderate. You might even say they're like extremely conservative for the modern Democrat. But anyhow, that was kind of the big split was, the socialists versus the moderates, and the moderates really weren't that moderate. They just they stopped just shy of jumping full bore socialism, and Bernie got a little fired up when people pushed back on the Medicare for All deal, and he went straight into like angry old man, just curmudgeon, and the part that really got me was when Tim Ryan was like, well, you don't have to yell. And Hickenlooper was like, yeah, go ahead and throw your hands. But and they really didn't do a good enough job of ridiculing him. If they could have made it funnier, it would, against Bernie, it would have been better off for him. But they both just looked like they were getting bullied by Bernie Sanders, which that guy just looks so old and frail, and he's just kind of an angry old man, and yeah, it wasn't much to see really. Elizabeth Warren got to where she was throwing some jabs at everybody, and she's probably picking up some momentum. And then there's the Marianne Williams, something like that. She's like a self-help type person, kind of a new age healing, and she's kind of like a hot older lady that's just really weird. She's like your crazy aunt that gives you like a Karma Sutra book for your wedding or something like that. She'd be the crazy old aunt that organizes the bachelor party and like the dildo show for your bachelorette party. But she, surprisingly, as crazy as she is, she made the most sense. If you actually listen to her, she's talking about how they're looking at symptoms and not causes, and she said, well, everything we're debating right now is what's wrong with politics in America. And of course her solutions were just hot crap, but she surprisingly enough, maybe it's not that surprising if you follow politics very closely, but the crazy person seemed to be the most logical. And we'll see what tonight's debate gives you, but that's really all I got for today. There wasn't much there, and I'll try to watch this one tonight, and maybe there'll be something more useful for us, but I doubt it. Tulsi Gabbard goes tonight against Sleepy Creepy Joe and the throat punch face of Cory Booker. I don't know if anybody spoke Spanish last night. They were in Michigan, so I don't know much about Michigan, but I imagine there's not a whole lot of Mexican folks up there, so that probably wouldn't play very well. They were in Miami last time, so there's a big Cuban population, and so I don't know, and I just don't think the whole immigration deal played well for them last time. I think it was still a pretty decent issue they had this time. Elizabeth Warren basically came out as open borders type, and I think they pretty well all are. At least that's what they had been running on. Not only open borders, but like free healthcare for illegal aliens, and it's just all the stuff that the Republicans claimed the Democrats were for like 10 years ago. Well, they were right. They were just 10 years ahead of time when they made that prediction. So, the Republicans are right on some things every now and then, but it sounded like it was just a hot shit show. So I imagine tonight will be more of the same. You got Kamala Harris and Cory Booker and creepy Uncle Joe, and then my girl Tulsi. See, she actually came out with she sponsored a audit the Fed bill, so she's making a huge step in the right direction, economically speaking. We'll see if she changes their tune at all, but she must have been hearing from her people that the libertarian folks were interested in her just based off of foreign policy. So I don't know, maybe she's trying to go Ron Paul on us. We can only hope. But anyhow, if there's anything newsworthy that you need to know, I'll cover it after tonight's debate. But for that's about all I got for politics today. I've got a pretty good treat for you today, folks. I read a story in Drovers that really made me laugh, and I'm still kind of laughing about it internally. Mostly because it drew, well, the whole thing is absurd, and I'll get into that here in just a minute, but the biggest reason that makes me laugh is it makes me think of one of my favorite TV shows of all time. It's King of the Hill, and it makes me think of, it's a toss-up for my favorite character on the show. It's just a 50-50 split, coin flip on who I like better. Cotton Hill, which would be Hank Hill's dad, little sawed-off bastard that has no filter, and then Dale Gribble. You've heard me talk about him plenty of times, and he's the crazy conspiracy nut. But this story made me think of Dale Gribble, because when he is confronted in any sort of like physical alteration, he has what he calls squirrel tactic, and it's usually when he pisses Hank off, like installing cameras or something, or borrowing something from him or whatever. He pisses Hank off some way or another, and when Hank comes after him, he's like, squirrel tactic, and he like jumps over the fence all cat-like, and just like kind of scurries into his basement and locks it down. And so that is what made this the squirrel tactic is what made me think of when I read this story. That's what it made me think of, was the squirrel tactic. So it was an article on drovers, and I browse through there every now and then just to see. Drovers is not known for being particularly entertaining, as most like agricultural news outlets are not. I mean, they can be, but they're kind of dry. Not saying they're not important, and they're not interesting to read, but something can be interesting and not be entertaining. And so these articles are, even when they pick an interesting story like this one, an entertaining story, they still somehow just manage to not make it very entertaining. But good thing you got me, because I will tell you what is entertaining about this story, or what's interesting and why it's entertaining. So these two fellas over in England, I'm not going to attempt to say their names, because I know I'm not going to be able to pronounce them, and it's really not important to the story. But they're kind of some Russian looking names, and yeah, I'm not even going to attempt it. But they held a protest in the streets of London, protesting veganism, and which I'm all in favor of. I don't know about the protest part. I honestly don't know who has the time to go protest. I've got enough shit going on. And plus, if I was at a protest, I'd be trying to record for you all, and then I'd just be the cranky old man, like, quiet down, I'm trying to record a podcast over here, god damn it. So, anyway, the protest scene, that's not my deal. But, anyway, I support their cause, protesting against veganism. Well, they did it a little different than I would do it. Like I said, if I was a protest type of guy, which I'm not, but if I was, I would have a certain tactic to protest veganism. Number one being there would be music at this deal. There'd be some good tunes that everybody can kind of bob their head to, and I would go recruit from like the local ag college, and I'd find some of the young fellas that I know and be like, hey, who is your, the young guys being what they are, they've got a list of especially if they're going to be in the ag college, there's usually a pretty small group of people compared to the rest of a college campus. So I would go find some of the young bucks in the College of Agriculture, and be like, hey, who's the hotties here in the ag college, that you see at class every day? Who are the hot little ladies that you like? And I would have them, I would get their list of local hotties, and I would have them dancing around out front. We'd have a good DJ playing some music, or a live band, whatever, and then the grill would be in full operation. We'd have plenty of beef on the grill. You could smell it for blocks away, and everybody would just be having a good time, and it'd just say, brought to you by the Burning Daylight podcast and or the Beef Council, or whoever, like just something simple like that. All you gotta say is just, hey, eat beef, and if you don't want to, that's fine, but if you do, here's a free chunk of beef. And you'd have something like tri-tip or brisket on the grill, something that's a big chunk of meat, and you can pretty well cook it to a way where nobody's going to get real upset on how it's cooked. Where a steak, you got your rare guys, you got your well done guys, which are wrong. We don't really want them in our movement anyways, but whatever. But with tri-tip, you can throw it on the grill, and you can cook it in a way that you can smoke it if you want, and then you could also have parts of it that are well done and parts of it that are pretty rare, and so you can please the whole spectrum of meat eaters with a single cut of beef. And then brisket, there's really only one way to cook brisket. Well, two, I guess. You can brine it and make corned beef. Or you could do it, and which is a perfectly valid way, or you could go the other most popular way is you just smoke that bitch for about 12 hours, low and slow, make sure it's good and tender and juicy, and then nobody's complaining about how they want it prepared, because there's only one way it's prepared, it's smoked. And so that's what I would have. I'd have some brisket and some tri-tip, and just have a little party, have a couple kegs of beer, and being the agricultural folks that we are, I guess it depends on what part of the country you're from and your personal taste, but as a rule of thumb, if you're going to be hanging around some campsites at a rodeo, or you're going to be around a Brandon pot or whatever, the beer choice is going to be some Coors Light. So you get some silver cans with the mountains real blue. Get you a plate of beef. You might have some side dishes, but really you're there to promote eating beef, or whatever type of meat you're promoting. You're just protesting veganism. So I mean, you could do some barbecued chicken or whatever. You could smoke some ribs. The list goes on and on. Hell, you could have some wild game up there. Just whatever you're trying to promote, because you're protesting veganism, but whatever part of the meat industry you're promoting, you just have that product. Make sure it's grill friendly, and kind of like a finger food. So like if you're having tri-tip, you want it sliced real thin where somebody can just pick it up with their hands and eat it right there. Same with brisket, just make it finger foods, make it easy, make it fun. You have some good music. You got some good-looking ladies dancing out front to draw in the dudes, and you got some beer flowing, and have like a little beer garden there, and that's a winning idea. These folks over in the UK, not quite so much. I respect their effort. You gotta respect the effort on this one. The tactics I am confused by, and it kind of goes back to the whole idea of like when I brought up how hard the Democrats are pushing this trans right stuff. I don't know how well that plays to everybody that's not running for office, or for president on the Democratic side. Like, I just, trans people don't come up in a normal everyday conversation out in the real world, and especially like the trans rights issue. It's not that big of a topic that's brought up. So, like I said, I don't know how well that's going to play, and this is kind of how I feel about these guys. So, rather than having a big barbecue party and giving away some meat and a very convincing argument as to why veganism sucks, no, these guys, one of them dressed up kind of like a chicken, I guess, had a bunch of feathers and shit on him, and then they both, here's the kicker, they ate a dead squirrel raw. And so this wasn't like a skinned out, cleaned squirrel like you'd have down in the holler of the Ozarks or the Appalachia. No, it's not squirrel soup, not barbecued squirrel. No, it's just a squirrel that they found dead in the park, I'd imagine. They didn't skin it, they didn't clean it. I don't know how long it'd take you to field dress a squirrel. I'm not a hillbilly, so I wouldn't know. But one of them even tried to I guess the first guy ripped it open and just went to town, just munching down on it, just animal style. The second guy tried to bite into it without even ripping it apart. He was just trying to rip into it with his teeth, but he couldn't get through the fur. And so then he ended up ripping the head off and just going to town. And I mean, just like a couple of, I don't know if you've ever watched a bunch of hogs eat, or when they feed the gators at the gator farm. I mean, that's kind of what I'm picturing with these two guys. And they ended up getting arrested. And they had to pay a big fine because they made some little kid cry, which I can understand why. These two fucking Looney Tunes are just mowing down on a full intact squirrel and just ripping it apart, blood everywhere, and just going at it like a couple of heathens. And I'm not sure how many people you won over. I'm not sure what your overall goal was with this protest. I would imagine it was just to get attention. So, in that scenario, you fucking killed it. Just knocked that one right out of the park. And because I'm talking about it, it was interesting enough to get drovers to write about it. Of course, their message was, this is not the way we should be promoting the nutritional value of meat and the benefits of, well, no shit. That doesn't even have to be a part of your article. No shit, you don't have to, this is not the way to promote eating meat. That should be a given. find an entertaining slant to write an article on. I don't know the guy's name that wrote, or the gal that wrote it, but they did a terrible job of capturing any interest. The story itself, like the actual story, not the news article, is entertaining as hell. As you know, I just went on for however long I've been recording now. 13 minutes, almost 14 minutes on the story. And I feel pretty confident you've been entertained the whole time. Not so much with this news article. So, drovers, if you need some help, go check out my blog posts. I think I do a pretty good job of writing in an entertaining style while still getting the message across. And so if you need some freelance writing skills, you know where to find me. burning-daylight.com, at burning-daylight on Instagram. You know, all the good places you can find me. Burning Daylight page on Facebook. I'm not hard to find. So, anyway, I thought that was a hilarious story. I would venture to say for those guys it was worth it for them. They had to pay like $200 and about $500 or some roughly around in there. I think they said it was 200 pounds for one of them and 400 pounds for the other, which is basically like a speeding ticket here in the U.S. depending on how fast you were going. So you got a lot of attention. You had to spend a little bit of money, but yeah, I guess if your main goal was just to gather attention, you won. You got that part down. So congratulations, and drovers, be a little more entertaining. Okay, update on this whole squirrel tactic. I watched the video, and I'm really disappointed in these fellas. They obviously didn't know what they were doing. So one guy had a shirt that said veganism equals malnutrition. Okay, I understand that. It's a valid point. And yeah, this whole deal, they really need some help. Like once again, should have had some music set up. Have yourself a little beer garden. Get the grill out there and throw them bad boys on the grill. You can keep your roadkill squirrels like they had, but field dress them, break them down. You're not really going to quarter a squirrel because there's not enough there to quarter. But skin that thing out, properly do it, wash it all up, throw that bad boy on the grill. I don't know, make like I think I would do like a Korean style barbecue marinade with it. Do a little soy sauce, little hoisin sauce, little sesame oil, some brown sugar, and marinate that bitch. Throw it on the grill, and then you put on like a skewer or something, and just be some weird street food then. But then also say, hey, this has more protein in one serving, healthy protein, than however much vegan alternative you'll have to eat. Plus, it's going to taste better. And we're getting rid of these dead squirrels that are just going to rot and smell bad. And, it's making it eco-friendly and, cleaning up our city a little bit. Way better way of presenting that. But, these guys, you live and you learn. Not the best way to win over some converts, but I didn't see a whole lot of people really upset about the deal in that video. There's a lot of people really interested in it, so you gathered some attention, so good job there. But yeah, let's polish up your routine a little bit. Gotta take this thing mainstream if you're gonna ever get any real attention. So yeah, let's work on the presentation, and yeah, I think we might have a winner there. Have the town pay you to clean up these squirrels, or you could just do it free of charge if you're of the libertarian mindset. Just that's the market at work there. So I think there's a number of ways we can go with this deal, but yeah, the optics are a little bad there. Mostly because it just doesn't look like you know what the hell you're doing. I mean, you're trying to take a bite, but you still got the innards and the guts hanging out, and yeah, it's just really kind of a Mickey Mouse operation they're running there. And if you need some consulting help, once again, I still can't pronounce your names, but if you need some PR help, I would be more than willing to volunteer my time and services. Hell, you gotta going on a 20-minute plug on the Burning Daylight podcast, so there you go, free publicity. And yeah, let's polish up that routine a little bit, and let's try to make it a little more mainstream. You want to be edgy, but you gotta appeal to the masses. And yeah, holding a pile of squirrel guts while you're trying to rip raw flesh from its tiny little bones, not going to appeal to a whole lot of people. I mean, you're going to get views, obviously. People are they like watching a train wreck, but you're not gonna win many converts that way. So let's do it right. Let's get it right. Let's get it tight, and then we'll do it all night. Just barbecuing squirrels, pumping up the jams. Get the beer flowing. Yep, make a party out of it, and then you're getting somewhere. And plus, you don't have to eat raw squirrel that way. It might be good. I don't know. I wouldn't trust it. So I would make sure you cook that thing low and slow, or either sear it hot and fast and pull it off the heat and let it cook all the way through. I'd imagine you don't want medium rare squirrel just for disease purposes. I would think you're gonna have to treat it like you would bear. Just I don't know if trichinosis is a possibility in squirrels. If somebody knows for sure, if I got any listeners down in the holler, let me know what the proper way to cook squirrel is. Like I said, I know there's like squirrel and dumplings and squirrel stew and shit that they make, but I mean, as far as a doneness perspective, does it have to be well done? Does it have to be cooked to 165? I'm not real for sure. So if anybody knows, let me know, and we'll put on our own anti-vegan rally. No, we won't. Fuck that. I don't have time for that. But I think these guys could really use your help. And but luckily they only came out of it with a hefty fine. I don't know how hefty it is, but it's not a small amount of money, I guess, that they had to pay. But at least they didn't get thrown in a cage for an extended period of time, I don't believe. So yeah, need a little help on the optics, but other than that, solid idea, fellas. Solid idea.
Wingo!
Well, folks, I'm going to end this show today on a article that I read on my Google News feed this morning, and a little bit of celebrity gossip, a little bit of political type culture wars bullshit, and pretty interesting stuff. This story in itself is not new, but the particular subject of the story is pretty new to controversy, I think. Yeah, it's hard to keep up nowadays, so I don't know for sure, but anyway, here goes. So Mario Lopez, if you're not familiar with him, he is the guy who played Slater on Saved by the Bell, one of my favorite shows growing up. I used to watch that shit all the time. Even in college, they had reruns all the time, and we watched us some Saved by the Bell pretty religiously. I was a big fan of the show, and he is trying to stay relevant, I believe. He went on Candace Owens' podcast or show or something or other. It was like Prager University, which is a kind of a conservative-leaning outlet, if you will. I'm not sure what exactly to call it, but platform maybe. Anyway, and Candace Owens is this young, very attractive black woman. I'm not sure if both of her parents are black or if she's biracial or mixed race or whatever they call it nowadays. But Anyway, young, attractive, pretty articulate black woman. Happens to be conservative, and she does a lot of work with Turning Point USA and a couple other of these conservative think tank type deals. And I wouldn't say I'm a very big fan of her. I'm kind of just meh either way on her. I think she's, I guess she's a fairly important voice, but I'm just not all that impressed with her. I don't think she's a particularly deep thinker. I don't think she's particularly overly intelligent. I'm sure I'll be called racist for that, but whatever. I just don't see there's a whole lot there to her as a person, but I could be wrong. I don't know her. Saying this is just the overall impression I get. So I don't have a very strong opinion one way or the other. She's just kind of whatever. And they were talking on her show, and somehow, I guess it was because of a Hollywood actress that the subject came up, but they brought up the subject of transgendered children, because Charlize Theron, who's big name movie star, A-lister, whatever, also like raging left-wing nutcase, her like 7-year-old kid or something, I guess when he was like 3, had told her that he was not a boy. She'd made some comment about him being a good boy or handsome boy, or I don't know exactly the circumstance, but probably something along those lines, and he informed her that he was not a boy. So instead of doing like what every other parent on earth would do and just be like, okay, there, little fella, you're 3, you don't know anything, whatever, we'll entertain your thoughts, and nothing will come of it. No, she is jumping all aboard the transgender train, and she is supporting this little dudette, whatever, this little person in their quest to be transgendered, and she is throwing all of her weight behind it, and she is going to support him to the ends of the earth. And Mario Lopez made the comment that he thought this was kind of a dangerous precedent to set, because being the logical thinking human he seems to be, he's another one I don't particularly find all that intelligent or deep or anything, but he's just kind of whatever. Like I said, I think he's more than anything, he's trying to remain relevant, and more power to you, buddy, whatever. And he made the comment that is a dangerous precedent, because those kids don't know what they're doing. They don't know anything about anything, especially at that early of an age, and there could be some serious long-term repercussions of you supporting them in being a transgendered person at such an early age. And if you're of sound mind, you look at that statement and you think, well, yeah, that's pretty obvious. But that's not the world we live in. And now he has caught a bunch of flack on Twitter and the social medias that he is transphobic and doesn't understand the subject and any number of things, but they really don't like him right now. And yeah, I think if I was in a public setting like he is, and my career kind of hinged on stuff that could be taken out of context, or people would get angry at, and I might not get a job because of it. I'm not in that situation, so I don't know what I'd do, but I don't know if I'd be commenting on the whole trans rights movement. Just be one of those situations where, like, I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. But anyway, he did, and they are doing their best to bury him, and kind of feel bad for the fella. But anyway, I don't think this train of thought, the oppression Olympics, as I like to call it. I don't see it lasting long term. Once again, could be wrong, but I think eventually enough normal-minded people are gonna step up and say, hey, this is bullshit. You guys are insane. And I think we'll see for sure in 2020 when Trump wins in a landslide. When that freaking crazy man gets elected twice, maybe then the Democratic Party will stop and look internally and say, what are we missing here? And the most glaring, obvious answer is you're fucking nuts. So I won't hold my breath on that, but they're headed for another just landslide defeat, and it's gonna be fun to watch. So anyway, I think that's where I'm gonna close the show today. It's been fun. It's been a weird episode, but that's how I roll. If I wasn't spinning this nonsense in my own point of view, you guys would be bored all day, so you're welcome, daylight burners. You are welcome. Anyway, go follow me on Facebook. I'm Matt McKinley. On Twitter and Instagram, I'm at MickerMac85. Go follow the show page at Burning Daylight on Facebook. Over 1,500 followers now, so that's pretty awesome. Show page on Twitter and Instagram, it's Burning Daylight on Instagram, Burning Daylight 2 on Twitter. You go follow my Patreon, subscribe to that. It is patreon.com/Burning Daylight. I'm also on the Open Range app as Burning Daylight and YouTube as well. And then my personal website is burning-daylight.com. I'll have some blog posts up there, and then that's where I'm going to put all your photos and videos that you send me, and I'll post them up there. You can take a look. Make sure if you want credit for it, you put your name on there somewhere before you send it to me. Otherwise, I'm just going to post them as uncredited. So anyhow, that's going to do it for me today. I got to go put up a couple new cables in some of our dairy pens, so I'm going to get after that before it gets blazing hot. And we'll catch you again tomorrow. Got a couple interviews coming your way. I'll let you know when they will be published, and I think you're going to like them. So if you got anybody you'd like me to sit down and visit with, shoot me a message. Other than that, go subscribe, like, share, review. If you're on iTunes, for sure, review the show. Hopefully give me a 5-star. If not, give me what you think is fair. And I don't want you to lie for me too much. And help me spread the word, get the show out there a little more, and we'll do this all again. And on that note, I got shit to do, so move your ass. We're burning daylight.